Good morning. Been training now for 6 weeks, just building a really good aerobic base, making sure that I build up slowly. I'm now up to 5 or 6 miles every day, and because of the COVID crisis, working from home has actually helped with the recovery process. I'm not on my feet every day. I can get a bit more rest. Stretching, I've been able to get a lot more stretching in, which has made such a difference. And within the last 2 weeks, I've started to add a second session to the day, a strength session in the garden, and that has also helped. So things at the moment are going reasonably well, touch wood. So I'm looking for the next phase shortly, and to start to bring in some tempo runs and some intervals. But at the moment, just enjoying the running. It's a really difficult time at the moment, so it helps to clear your head. Also, these difficult times that have been had by all, the running has really helps to clear my mind. I'm able to disappear on the trails on my own, and it's led me to think a lot more than I normally do. So busy in the day, you can't reflect on anything. So I've been doing a lot more reflection. This reflective thinking led me to a cupboard drawer, and in the depths of that drawer was some writing that I'd done many years ago. I'm going to share this with you. I haven't done that with anyone yet, so I'm taking a risk, but maybe that's one of the lessons to be learnt. It's an incident that happened to me whilst I was coming to the end of my track career, if I can call it a career. It's a hobby, I suppose, seeing as I wasn't paid on a regular basis. But this hopefully will help some of you who have your aspirations and been thinking and doing that reflective thinking that I've been doing recently. It's not the knowledge we have that fuels us, it's what we do with that knowledge. And I think state of mind and avoiding all the naysayers is key to that. I hope you enjoy this piece, and it does help you in some way.
It was a bright, sunny Saturday morning in Victoria Park. Cold, crisp but bright. A lovely morning to train in February. 6 times 1,000 metres with 2 minutes recovery was the session for the day. Trying to run them all under 3 minutes was getting harder and harder the older I got. Even as a young athlete, I found these long speed endurance sessions tough. 200s were my kind of session, not 1,000s. However, they were a staple part of training, particularly out of season, so there was no escaping them. It was during the 2-mile cool-down my thoughts about writing a book were released to the world. During these runs we would talk about everything and anything, but it would usually come back to athletics. Did you hear so-and-so ran a PB, personal best, the other day, some would say, or he's running 100 miles a week. Running was our lives and we loved it. However, I was 36 now and my best days were behind me. Although I was still relatively a successful athlete on the county circuit, I was finding the whole idea of getting older a daunting one. We started to talk about a book everyone was reading or wanted to read about a successful Olympic athlete. I can't remember who it was about, as my thoughts continued to swim around my head that I realistically would not be an Olympian. I ran the 800 metres, an event which at the time was dominated by British athletes. Sebastian Coe, Steve Ovett, Peter Elliott. There were too many to mention. In fact, at one time you needed to be in the top 10 in the world to even get a British team place. A friend of mine from university had even gone to Canada to live so he could obtain Canadian citizenship. He went on to run in the Commonwealth Games for Canada. In the UK at the time, he was just another good athlete. My mind joined the conversation again. I'd like to write a book, I added. Everyone looked at me. Their stares seemed to be looking for answers. What, you? What do you want to write a book about? Someone asked. A romantic novel, another joked. I explained there were so many books about athletes who had achieved their dreams, were Olympians. Some had even overcome adversity to top the podium. All of them had achieved the ultimate in success. They stood out above the rest. Although this is only relative to where you are standing, they had all been successful in society's eyes. The general public saw them as the high achievers amongst us. They were recognised for what they had done. I wanted to write a book about someone who had dedicated their life from 12 years old to 36, but hadn't realised their dreams. There were so many of us out there. For every champion, there were hundreds, if not thousands, of people who finished second, third, fourth. How do you deal with this? After training 2, sometimes 3 times a day and not quite making the mark? I was one of many athletes who would find themselves slumped over the barrier next to the track, being sick into the bin. On one occasion, I'd even lost my colour vision. Later, when it had returned, one of the coaches said it was due to oxygen debt. This book would help those athletes who had forgotten they were not alone. When you are wrapped up in trying to achieve something great in your life, you often become blinkered to what is around you. I certainly had. As my goals were slowly slipping away, my thoughts were becoming swamped. It was, I am sad now to admit it, a kind of depression. The book, I felt, would help me overcome these thoughts and also help others who were in a similar predicament.
Look at this.
A couple of the older guys nodded. I could see some of this resonated with them. Then Tony spoke, an athlete who was one of the most successful among us. He had run for his country but not quite made Olympic standard due to the world standard set by the athletes we were competing against. However, as students of athletics, we knew he was good and would have represented his country if he had been living in another place in the world. Who wants to read about a loser? He joked. The conversation was over. He was right, wasn't it? Who would ever want to read about a loser? That day, the idea left my consciousness.
Well, I hope that helps spark your own reflective thinking and some decisions you may have made differently in hindsight. It's never too late to change them, just like I'm doing now. Sharing something that was an idea a long, long time ago. Even if it's just for me or my family in future years, that's okay. If it helps somebody else as well, that's even better. Stay safe.